um, S, ESPA, complex event processing, and a few others. He has also worked with computer hardware. He has also worked with computer hardware maintenance and networking. Although his first love is programming, he is deeply interested in fields like mathematics, artificial intelligence, and computer graphics and slash animation. That is our second mentor for today, Mr. Emutsu Balogun. Welcome, sir. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for choosing to mentor us. We would like to have you very soon. Thank you, sir. And our last but not least, on our mentors, on the list of mentors we have for today is Mr. Victor Onyekere. Victor Onyekere, popularly called the strategist, is a certified life behavioral change and productive coach. Victor is recognized in working with people and organizations via the integrative tool of coaching and strategy to transitioning them from their current realities to their desired productivity. He works with organizations across Africa to reach their business goal by transforming their workforce. He designs the structure and system that helps entrepreneurs build profitable, better profitable ventures. He has trained 10,000 plus career professionals across organizations like both Wave, CVL, Verify Me, Cars 45, Jig, Clovo, Uber, Gokada, Child Deck, Q, Trust, TrueQ, etc. Interacted with 5,000 plus African entrepreneurs and coach 100 plus SMEs across Africa. Victor is an experienced learning and performance leader with 7 years plus multidimensional experience, cutting across HR strategy, employees development, recruitment, strategy, and operations management. His God's documents strengths in innovative thinking, operational excellence, and multicultural force transformation. As a venture builder and operator, Victor supports early stage African founders to build, launch, and scale profitable companies. He has interacted with 300 plus founders through growth strategies, calls, and supported 30 plus startup to up to go from ideas to launch. Victor is an early believer of ambitious Africa founders building across different industries and markets. He is an advisor to 50 plus pre-seed African startups, some of which he backs by Techstars Toronto and Google for startups. Victor thoughts patterns are very unconventional and he brings incredible superpowers to his work. He's a guest conversationalist on the Advocate Show at Plus TV Africa, which airs weekly on DSTV. Victor has featured across several media platforms like Voice of America, Channels TV, Plus TV, The Beats FM, NTA, Nigeria Info, Classic FM, Cool FM, and many others. Welcome, Mr. Victor. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here, and thank you for choosing to mentor us. Before we go any further, I would like to ask if our moderator is back on call. Okay, since our moderator is not back on call, we'll just be going further. We'll be inviting our first mentor for today, and our first mentor will be Mr. Victor Onyekere. Mr. Victor, we would like to have your section very soon, or just about now. But before we do that, we would just like to have our mentees turn on their videos, and we just have like a special something for you, sir. We are aware that today is your birthday, and we as Jiipcc would like to just celebrate you and in our own small way. So can we have our mentees turn on their videos while we take a happy birthday song for Mr. Victor? Okay, can we have more mentees? Please turn on your camera so that we can sync for Mr. Victor.
Let's just stay.
Okay, thank you. As you comply, can we have turn on their videos? Okay, count of 3, we'll just go ahead and sing a happy birthday. So at 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday.
Happy
Happy birthday, sir.
Mr. Victor.
Happy birthday, sir.
Please, would like to comment, says drop in a happy birthday message in the comments in the chat. Would like to get engagement in happy birthday. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much for all you do for us. Thank you for being on call. Thank you for joining us. And we would just like to have you come and give us a brief introduction into today's topic. Our topic for today is raising capital and effective business negotiation. Thank you, sir, for joining. Like I said, sir, we would just like to have you right about now. Thank you, sir.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can, sir.
Okay, fantastic. So first, I want to say thank you to Mr. Joseph for this platform. As you can see, I'm just wrapping up a training session with some couple of people, and I'm still here. I had to stay back so I can have this session. And by the way, I might get a bit distracted. Lots of people are calling me, people are trying to send me stuff. My security is so angry with me because there's a lot of things waiting for me, in the house, and I'm not around, so please do bear with me. So today we're just going to be talking about, I just wanted to do this session quickly before I start driving. All right. So I want to thank Joseph and the entire JIPCC, and if I got that correct, team, for this opportunity. I think it's very important what you're doing, right? So I'm just going to get on it. Just give me a minute. Let me just get to my slides. I don't know if I'm able to share my screen from here, but let me try, because what I want to share is on my laptop. So let me just see. Okay, so I found it. I'm just going to share. All right. If you can see my screen, please let me know. If you can see my screen, let me know.
We can see your screen, sir.
Fantastic. So I was asked to, mentor you guys, just talk about, raising capital and of course, effective business negotiation for fintech. So I'm just going to run through the interesting slide that I've been given to talk with. But I would like to say something. I don't know how many weeks you've been in this program, but as with every of my session here, knowledge doesn't change you, right? Knowledge, right, is not going to deliver incredible results in your life. What is going to deliver incredible results in your life is the knowledge that you engage, right? It is what you do with what you know that determines, where you're going to be in life. So your life, right, the outcomes in your life is driven by your behavior. All right. So if you don't behave according to what you've learned over the number of weeks you've been, going through this program, then you're not going to achieve, the results that you seek. And JIPPC would not be responsible for that. All right. So this is me just daring every single person that what makes you, or the game changer, is what you do and not just what you have learned. All right. So the things I'm going to tell you in this short while is not really going to change you right now. It's going to give you insights. So it is the insights that you act on that determines the outcomes in your life. All right. So there's this popular saying that, let me just be, don't worry, with time, everything will get better. Don't worry, everything will soon get better. With time now, you will make it. Let's be clear. You may never make it. Let's be clear, right? Some people will never make it in life. And it's not a curse, right? It is a statement of fact. Those people are the people who are waiting for time to deliver to them the things they're supposed to do in time. So it is what you do in time that changes the outcome of your life, not the time itself. So saying things like, very soon now, with time now, with time, it go better, Nigerian language. With time, I would make it. You may not make it, all right? It's what you do in time. And I always like to do a very practical example. Let's look at, the time now is 4:21. I'm going to put my phone so I'm going to set my phone now to 15 seconds timer. So I want you guys to stay with me. All right, this is super important for you to get before I just launch into what I want to talk about, and then I'll be out of your faces. So I'm going to put a timer now, right? So here's my stopwatch. Okay, I'm going to put it for, so I'm going to start for 15 seconds, and I'm going to ask every single person not to do anything. Don't move. Once I start the timer, don't move. If you're in your various location, your house, wherever you are, don't do anything. Just stand still and let's see what's going to happen. Thirty seconds, right? That felt like a 1 minute silence. So 30 seconds, we did nothing. What happened? Nothing. So the ideology that with time, things will get better for me. With time, I will make it. It is flawed, deeply flawed. It is what you do in time that delivers the results, in your life. So let's talk about, raising capital and, negotiation. So fintech essentially are, so it's a mixture of finance and technology, right? Let's not get it twisted, right? Fintech is a mix of finance and technology. So fintech, or when you look at the word fintech, right, it is a solution that has been designed with technology to better deliver financial services and products. So when you look at products, so this marker I'm holding is a product, right? But do you know now that on your iPhone or MacBook, forgive me, I'm an Apple fanboy, so I'm going to be using Apple products. So on your iPhone or MacBook, do you know that you have this? You can actually have this as a digital product. So you don't need to have a marker. There's a marker embedded in your iPhone. You can use that to doodle, you can use that to draw, you can do things without actually having a physical marker. All right? Without having a physical marker. Very important. So that's a digital product. So what fintech does is to look at the financial services space. How can we make things more efficient? How can we make things more seamless? Right? When you think about it, when last did you buy a recharge card and then you are scratching? But now, all what we're doing is *937, *737, *945. That is what a fintech primarily comes to do. Takes the financial services and then brings in technology to make it more efficient, to simplify the process. All right? And so that means you don't need to carry cash around. You can carry $10 million inside your phone, in your laptop, right? Or whatever device. So you don't need to really have the $10 million in cash. When you look at the medieval times, they were carrying cash around. Even up until late 90s, they were carrying cash around. But now we deposit in the bank and we don't need to really, move money. Some people like me don't regularly hold money. So I don't regularly see cash like, 50 naira, 100 naira, 1,000 naira, and things like that. Because now everybody is just using, the digital technology to move money around. So basically that's what fintech, is, right? So what distinguishes a fintech and a traditional financial services is that, with fintech, they take a certain process and then they automate it using technology. And that's what fintech does. And guess what? It makes life easier. It makes the economy move faster. Things can happen faster. I remember when I was in Kenya, I didn't have to spend shilling, right? I literally was using M-Pesa, something called M-Pesa is a mobile money digital product, right? It's a fintech owned by Safaricom. So when my vacation in Kenya was ending, I was like, what's happening here? I've not actually held shilling. So I went to the mobile money and I said, you know what? I want to withdraw shillings. I want to hold shillings. Why will I be here and I will not have shillings? What was the evidence that, I was in Kenya? Literally, I had no reason to hold shillings because every service was already digitized. Okay. So why do we need to raise capital for fintech? Very simple. So investment in technology, regulatory compliance, scaling and growth, marketing and customer acquisition, talent acquisition, risk management. So let me just go a little bit in depth into each of them. So build your tech. When you're building a fintech, the most important part of the product is the technology because everything is driven on the wheels of technology and it costs a lot of money, right? To build the tech infrastructure that powers you to move your money. You can log into your app, move your money, buy airtime. You look at all of those things as easy. But guess what? The technology infrastructure that powers those things is very, very expensive. So people raise money to be able to build the tech infrastructure. Now, regulatory compliance, which is regulation, you need a lot of money to do that, right? Compliance is expensive in financial services. For instance, there are some licenses like, PSSD license, PSD license, most of these licenses start at like, they are as much as from 10 million naira to as much as 100 million naira to as much as 1 billion naira. And that's why some fintechs are not even able to afford these licenses when they start out. So they have to now, get under maybe a bigger company that already has the license. One of the most popular one is the SEC, Securities Exchange Commission. So the SEC license, right? Most of these fintechs need the SEC license to operate. So they go under the umbrella of another bigger, financial services company, maybe an asset management that already have a license and float for a while till they are able to afford it. It takes a lot of money. Then scaling and growth, which is when you want to get into other markets, you want to move from Nigeria into Kenya, into Rwanda, into South Africa, into Egypt, into Senegal, right? You need a lot of money to tap into those markets because when you get into a new market, you have to now incorporate, right? You have to incorporate. You have to look at the regulations available in that country. You look at the cost of compliance, or it's almost like you're setting your company up again in another country. So in scaling requires a lot of money, right? Then marketing and customer acquisition. Acquiring customers is super expensive because, you have to literally run ads. And when I'm talking about ads, it's not about just Facebook ads, Instagram ads, Twitter ads. You have to, do traditional media on print media, newspapers. You have to put it on tech blogs. You have to appear on screen, which is television, and most times when you drive past, I don't know where everybody is centered around. So let's say you're in Lagos and you drive past different areas in Lagos. You will see some of all these, like OPay, PamPay. These are like very popular fintechs. You will see their ads almost everywhere. Those ads cost a lot of money. All right. So you use all of those things to acquire customers. It's called marketing. So the end game of marketing is to drive customer acquisition. And then you have talent acquisition, hiring engineers, hiring product managers, hiring product designers is expensive. It's very expensive. All right. Very expensive. So you need to, you need to raise money if you're doing a fintech to hire those kind of people because they don't come cheap. Because if you hire cheap people, they're going to build cheap products. And guess what? You don't want to build something cheap for something that holds the most important thing in our lives. Money is the most important thing in our lives. And then risk management as well, mitigate risks, build succession plans, and things like that. Okay. So effective business execution is very important, for partnerships, collaboration, because you have to partner with people, you have to collaborate. You cannot build everything by yourself. In this ecosystem, there are lots of people that, okay, let's plug in your API into our own API. Instead of me building something from ground up, I can enter into a partnership, right? And you have to be able to be an effective negotiator. And in negotiation, people always assume that it's a win-lose. I win, you lose. That's not negotiation. In negotiation, everybody wins. So it's a win-win situation. I win, you win, all right? For instance, in regulatory compliance, I can say, I can walk up to a Meristem. Can I use your SEC license to float my company for a while? We would see how we can also find a middle ground as to also selling Meristem products, all right? So you see now, so I can now list Meristem products on my own fintech platform because I'm using their SEC license, all right? So I don't have to pay the maybe 50 million, 100 million to acquire my license because I don't have it yet, right? Of course, investment, funding, you have to negotiate, right? I mean, I'm not just going to go into all of that right now. So market entry and market expansion. So essentially, to even be a solid business person, you have to be skilled at negotiating. And negotiation is a psychological game, it's a mind game, it's a mental game. All right, you want to understand who is coming to the table with you, what do they desire, or what are they looking to get out of table with you? How can you position what you're building to appeal to their emotions? Every single person makes decisions based on emotions. Our emotions drive our decisions, right? 80% of the decisions that we make is based on emotions, right? We make it based on how we feel. Even the things that you buy. Most of us buy things based on how we feel, our emotional connection to that particular brand. All right, so it's super important. Now, let me see something before I move to the next slide. You can write this down, right? The most powerful person in a negotiation process is the person that is willing to walk away without anything. The most powerful person in a negotiation table is the person willing to walk away without anything. All right. So I want us to, take note of that. Okay. So sources of capital, venture capital, which is VC. So a venture capitalist is the person, right? They are the people that look out for high growth startups, right? Whether it's fintech, whether it's logistics technology, whether it's, food tech. And why do they look out for startups? Because startups have the impact to scale. Most traditional businesses can be profitable, but they don't have the potential to scale. They cannot serve 1 billion customers because the way they are designed, they cannot scale beyond their 100 or 1,000 customers. And with a technology company, it's able to reach millions of people, right, without having to spend so much resources, maybe in hiring and, opening retail outlets. I'll give you an instance. So PiggyVest, for instance, right? You don't have PiggyVest branches everywhere, but they are serving about 4 million customers. But you have banks, like GT Bank is almost everywhere, right? So that is what a fintech does. We're able to create more impact with less resources. So venture capitalist looks out for high impact or high growth scalable startups and then funds them in exchange for equity. Very important, equity. So which means you give out a portion of your company for a certain amount of money. Let's say you're giving out $500,000 for 5% of your company. So that means 5% of your company is owned by that VC firm. And a VC can also be like a firm funding you, or it can just be a venture capitalist writing you the check. Now we have angel investors. These are the guys that believe. So I consider myself, as an angel investor, right? So because I'm an early believer. VCs are more like mid to late believers, right? A VC doesn't want to fund an idea. Now they are beginning to, try to fund ideas, right? So a VC wants to fund something that is already profitable and they've seen the impact that it can scale. An angel might fund an idea that has not yet matured into a product at all, right? That's why they call them angels. When you say, oh, you're my guardian angel. Oh, you are an angel sent to me. So angels are like helpers. So when nobody believes in you, right, they are the ones that believe in you. That's why we call them early believers. Early believers. So what they are funding is your ambition, your passion, your zeal, and things like that. A VC is funding, again, your experience as a founder, your passion as a founder, right? The profitability of your startup and the scale potential of your startup. Can it scale? Can it get big? And then you just say, okay, you know what? I like what you're doing. Take this money. So they don't take equity most times. What they take is what we call SAFE. So the meaning is simple agreement for future equity. So let me explain that quickly. What that means is you may not blow, but if you blow, right, I'm going to be among the first people that will be on your equity table. So if you're considering those that would own a portion of your company, because I gave you $10,000 when nobody believed in you, so you are going to put me on your equity table when it starts making sense. So angels is also a way to say, you know what? Well, I don't know if you're going to get big, but if you don't get big, no problem. My $10,000 will just be that, okay, I believed in you and I supported you. Now, if you get big, because I supported you early enough, right, you will give me discounted offer. So for VCs, if you're offering them 5% for this amount, you would either increase my equity stake or lower the amount for me. As a way to say, oh, thank you so much for believing in me. So it's a simple agreement for future equity. And we call it again convertible notes. So it can be converted into an actual equity. But at the time of funding, it is not an equity, right? Because they are just saying, you know what, you can even fail, right? But just take this money and try it. And most times angels come from what we call F&F, right? F&F is friends and family rounds. Friends and family. We love you. Your mom can just give you 1 million naira. Okay, my son, you are doing well. Or you take now, go and try. If you fail in that business, your mom will still hug you and she'll not say, oh, leave my house, you are fired. Or, your mom will not take you to court. You get so because it's an angel fund, essentially. So we'll call it friends and family. Now there's another F called fools. So friends, family, and fools. You know why it's called a fool? Because it's only a fool that will give you money for something they don't know if it's really going to be big, right? So it's foolishness to fund you at an idea state. And that's how we'll call it friends, family, and fools. So crowdfunding also is also another way of raising money, right? Which is you can go and talk to 1,000 of your friends and say, you know what? Come together, see what I'm building. Put in just $5, $10, $50, $100. And then you come together and then you find a way to promise them something, right? Now, there are different crowdfunding platforms for raising capital. One is Get Equity. One is Get Raise, right? So Get Equity is, they are doing good work. So you can invest $10 into a startup that you love what they are doing. That's crowdfunding. And then, of course, we have what we call debt financing. And that's where the banks and the financial institutions come in. So debt financing basically is a bank will give you 10 million, right? You go and build, and then you refund back the money with interest, all right? So you don't take a debt financing if you're not sure of what you're doing. You've got to be sure, or else you might land yourself in trouble, all right? So you take debt financing when you're very sure that there's a profitability angle to this. You don't take a loan to go and service something that will not yield. Just like when you say you don't take a loan to buy liabilities, right? You take a loan to fund assets, something that's going to yield money that would enable you to pay back that loan, all right? And the funny thing is, VC money is also loan. Forget all the noise happening in the ecosystem. Oh, we raised $1 million. The founders went to buy a house in Banana Island. they bought Lamborghinis, and that was it. They shut down the business, and then they ran away. We see that happening. But actually, VC money is a loan. It's just that is a loan that has now been converted into ownership. Instead of paying me back with interest, pay me back by giving me a stake in your company. Okay? So tips for successful fundraising: create a fundraising strategy. Very important. You must have your strategy. How do you want to raise the funds? Validate your concept. Very important. Don't build a solution and then you're looking for the problem. I see many founders. I have talked to over 400 founders, right, in Africa, and I've seen a lot. Trust me, I've seen a lot, right? Don't build solution and you're looking for the problem. That's putting the cart before the horse, right? The horse must cart before the cart because the horse, pushes the cart. So you look for a problem in your environment and then you build something around it. Of course, you must validate. Don't assume that people are looking for what you're building. Don't assume. Go and talk to the market. Assumption is the lowest level of ignorance. So don't assume. Go to the market and talk to the market. So what does the market say about what I'm building? Very important. Analyze and regulate any irregularities. Very important. So analyze as you're building on the go. Ask questions, iterate. You must iterate. Let me say this. If you're going to become a successful startup founder, you must be willing to pivot. What is pivot? Which is you must be changing and reinventing yourself. Going from this, it doesn't work, you try this, you try that. You have to keep changing. You have to keep reinventing yourself. Super, super important. Be careful when raising funds. And I will say this here because I have much time, right? Get a lawyer, especially a lawyer who is skilled in tech startups. If you're building a tech startup, right? Get a lawyer, talk to a lawyer. Because people, one of the founders that, I was advising, they would have taken 10 million naira and sold almost half of their company. That's the most wrongest investment I've ever seen. But 10 million naira looks quite big to the founder at the time. Only that they would have lost 50% of their company. So I got in, I intercepted that funding, and then I helped them to raise debt financing. And guess what? They have made that revenue that they would have made if they had gotten the 10 million. So they've kept back their company and, they are happy. So because I see a lot of founders, they don't understand fundraising. And there are some VCs that are out there to swindle you. Some investors are out there to deceive you. So be very careful. Cut down on luxuries, right? You are a business. If you start your company, and even if you are earning 500,000 as salary, right? Before you resign to go build your own company, you might need to start your salary at 30,000 naira. By the way, when I started Talemia, my salary was zero. No, sir, I was not earning anything, even while I was paying salaries every month to people on the team, but I wasn't earning a salary. Do you understand that? Until at some point, I was not even earning a salary until when I started earning like commissions and then, 30K, 50K and things like that, right? So you might need to start from like 30K. Like I'm earning 700K where I left. Well, where you left is already established. This is a new company. Imagine asking a baby to give you $10,000 or 10,000 naira. The baby can, if the baby is able to, they can slap you. What do you mean? I'm a baby. I don't have any money. So your company is a baby. Cut down on things that are not important. Always request feedback. And that feedback must come from the people you're building for. Don't be arrogant. Arrogance is when founders believe that they know what the customers are looking for. How you know is by asking the customer. You must talk to the customer. All right? Ask for local assistance. Very important. All right? Talk to people within your local operational zone and then talk to them. Look for small business funds and grants. Yes, start from where you are. If you're not able to get VC funding, $500,000, $100,000, $5,000, $10,000, right? You can start with small funds. there's a Tony Elumelu $5,000 grant. Apply to it. And the more you apply to grants, the more you begin to refine. You know what it does to you? Even if you don't get it, you'll be forced to think about what you're building. You keep refining what you're building, all right? Understand your investor terms. Again, get a lawyer. Then work together with other startups. Don't build in isolation. I always sing this to all the founders at our community of over 300 founders, right? Get a lawyer, right? And don't build in isolation. Don't build in isolation. Very important, right? You must talk to other people building even similar stuff. Don't build in isolation, okay? So when pitching to investors, deliver your elevator pitch, which is a one-liner. So think about if you're going to sell your startup in 30 seconds, what would you say, right? What would you say? You know, tell your story. Build a story. Why are you solving this problem? Why are you building this? And that's how you build your story. Maybe it was something you saw in your environment. Maybe your friend died of one health disease, and then you felt, no, you don't want more people to die of this disease. Build your story. Show market research. Very important. What is the data from market saying? Introduce and demonstrate your product and service. Explain the revenue and business model. Very important. They want to know how you're going to make money. Many founders are so passionate, but guess what, guys? You can be passionately broke. You can be passionately broke. Passion is not an independent variable. It's a dependent variable. So to your passion, add other things. Passion is good, but it's not enough, right? Because if passion is enough, if I'm passionate about driving and I don't know how to drive, I get behind the wheels of a car, I could have accidents. I could even kill myself. So that means you can even actually passionately die. So most startups passionately die. They die out of passion because they've not figured out the model. And when people are pitching to me, I'm always thinking in my head, how do they make money? And most founders, because they're excited, oh, do you want to solve this problem? Want to solve this problem? We love it. You know, we've looked at it, and I ask them, how do you make money? And then they are stuck. All right. Clarify how you attract the business. You know, explain your financial projection. Very important. You know, over a 5-year plan, how do you intend to, you know, increase your revenue? Justify your fundraising needs. What this means is use of funds. How would you raise money? How would you use the money that you raise? Very important. How would you use the money that you raise? Okay. All right. How would you use the money that you raise? Okay. Then illustrate your exit strategy. Right. I mean, this is not so important, but if you're asked, you know, what's your exit, or do you want to sell later on, or do you want to be acquired by a bigger company, or you want to IPO? All right. Very important. So in negotiating, keep your cool, right? Don't be desperate. Very important. Desperate people always lose out. Desperate people always lose out. Do not be desperate, okay? Listen to what's not said. Communication is about much more what people are not saying than what they are saying. If you can decode what is not being said, you are on your way, right, to winning with people. You must hear what is not being said. You must hear what is not being said. All right? So what is being said can be heard by everyone. The real intelligence is hearing what they are not saying. Because what they are not saying is where the challenge is. It's what you need to win that negotiation. All right? Very important. Create a competitive environment, which is build your competitive edge. What makes you stand out? What makes you, you know, what makes you important? What do you bring to the table? Don't negotiate against yourself. Very, very important. Don't shoot yourself in the leg, all right? Make simultaneous multiple offers. That's where necessary, right? Where necessary. Offer contingent terms, which is, if this happens, how are we going to cushion this? Okay, if this happens, I got you, right? Include clauses for damage, right? Include clauses for damages. Be willing to walk away. Remember I said the most powerful person in a negotiation table is the person that is willing to walk away with nothing. They are the most powerful. They are the most powerful. So if you're on the side of not that, if you walk away with nothing and you lose, then you're no longer powerful. All right. So look at it very well. One of the things that is very important here is the mind. All right. You must understand the psychological makeup of the other person. Once you can appeal to the emotions of anyone, you can get them to do almost anything. You can get them to do almost anything. And I'll do a quick example here, right? So I want us to go to the chat box. I'm wrapping up now. I want us to go to the chat box. So those that use DSTV, what's your favorite channel, please? The one that you watch most, please punch it on the chat box, please. Those that use DSTV, GoTV, DSTV, GoTV, tell me your favorite, the channel that you watch most. Please, I don't know, the name, please. I'm not really a DSTV fan. So what's the name? Is it Sports? Is it Telemundo? Is it so? Let's know. Okay, Super Sport. Francis says Super Sport. Thank you, Francis. What's the most watched channel for you in terms of what you watch frequently? Super Sport, African Magic Urban, Universal TV, or Orisun. Okay, I don't know what that is. Studio Universal, African Magic Epic, TNT, TVC. All right. So I'll get like two more. Al Jazeera. Okay. Then WWE. Now, thank you guys so much. Let's even analyze the data we have currently. What do we need to watch? CNN, Al Jazeera, BBC, and anything maybe news and information related. What are we watching? Fun. You see now, only one person chose Al Jazeera. So you see that most of the time we're making emotional decisions. Logically, watching African Magic Urban, how does it add value in that sense? So what I mean is, if you are going to bomb Nigeria today, how would you know from African Magic Urban? You would not know. If the dollar rate is going up, how would you know from African Magic Epic? Will Super Sports tell you that the dollar rate is going up? What impacts your entire, economy? So you see that most humans make emotional decisions, right? And so if you can appeal, if you can get to their emotional level, then you can win in negotiation table. Very important. All right. So what are challenges faced by fintech companies? Competitive market, right, is saturated. You're already competing with like the big boys, the banks, and the banks are also launching their own, fintech products. Poor forward-looking strategy, cybersecurity. Now, security is a big issue. I was talking to a group of people on finance, and I told them that you are not being careful with your passwords, right? In terms of where you keep your money. While you are displaying part-time behavior over your financial security in terms of access, guess what? Scammers are working full-time. People forget that scamming is a full-time job. People think that scamming is, when I have time, when I wake up. Scammers do not sleep. In fact, they run shift. Okay, you start by 6 a.m., you end by 12 a.m., right? Then I'll resume again. It's shift work. So scammers are not sleeping. Scammers are running a full-time enterprise. And so cybersecurity is a problem. Where you see somebody was scammed of their from their account from OPay, somebody took away 1 million naira, right? So cybersecurity is an issue. Lack of innovation, all right? So because again, most fintechs are just copying. It feels like they're just copying. This one launches a payment app, and then another person launches another payment app. It's just like we're all just copying, all right? So also have like regulatory concerns, very important. So regulation, because it's very expensive to obtain these licenses, and it becomes a challenge. And that's why most fintech founders are stuck at MVP. MVP is like minimum viable products, right? That regulatory concern, very, 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 it's a big problem, and that's always some of the challenges. So let's close this out, right? Fintech companies have numerous sources when it comes to raising capital, and with the right application of negotiation fundamentals, they can easily gather funds in order to raise capital to ensure the smooth running of fintech organizations. However, fintech companies should also make sure to tackle challenges like cybersecurity, competition in the industry, poor strategy, lack of innovation, economic cyclicality, and other regulatory concerns, as these may impede the development and progress of fintech companies. So if you're here and you want to launch a fintech, first of all, I want to even say congratulations to you, right? Because to build a startup in Africa, it's an extreme sport. It's not an easy stuff, right? It's not an easy stuff, right? So I want to even say congratulations on trying to solve problems, because founding a business is really about solving problems. And that's what entrepreneurship is, all right? So I would end with saying that you've got to reprogram your mindset. Entrepreneurship is not a job, it's a mindset. You've got to love problems. You've got to gravitate towards problems. If you see where problems are and you find yourself dissociating from problems, then you are not designed to become an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur likes problems, so you must love problems. You must be a lover of problems. So if you keep saying, I don't like problems, I don't like problems in my life, stop saying that, all right? All right, the things that you say are very powerful. So stop saying things like, I don't want problems. You would have to love problems, because that's what being an entrepreneur is. They find problems, and in those problems are embedded opportunities. Paystack, Flutterwave, right? Andela, these are big tech companies, and they found problems. And guess what? In those problems became the solution. Okay, so very, very important. So change your mindset, love problems, very, very important. And with that, I want to say thank you to the JIIPCC. Thank you, Joseph, and the team for having me. I really appreciate it. I celebrate all the work that you're doing. I look forward to, seeing you guys at the top. I'm rooting for every single person. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Victor. Thank you for that very wonderful and very engaging section. I want to see reactions from our mentees saying, well done, Mr. Victor. Thank you so much. And once again, happy birthday from all of us here at JIIPCC. Sorry for the time we've taken so far. We would like to invite our second mentor for today. Our second mentor, I can see, is already on call, right? Our second mentor is already on call. Please, can we have Mr. Mutsu Balogun? That is our second mentor for today. Yes, sir. Please, are you with us? We'd like to have your introduction for the topic
I'm here.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Please, I would like to request, sir, please, the time for your introduction is 20 minutes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Mutsu Balogun. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Sendbox. Sendbox is a technology and e-commerce fulfillment company. So what I mean is we facilitate the fulfillment of e-commerce orders that are placed on our platform by the different merchants that use our technology to finalize their transactions. We focus on this space primarily because we are trying to help merchants bridge the gap between themselves and their own customers, especially their international customers. And we provide the ability for these merchants to be able to fulfill orders at prices that they can't particularly achieve or attain by themselves as a result of either the volume of transactions that they currently have as a business, or their inability or capacity to actually build out their own logistics or fulfillment infrastructure. So Sendbox as a company has been in operations now for about 6 years full time. We currently service merchants all across Nigeria, and we facilitate fulfillment not just nationwide but also internationally. We are technology first, meaning that we have built a lot of our solutions and services based on the idea that using technology, we would be able to reach many more people. And so at the core of what it is that we do is we always try to figure out how we can scale and expand and increase our business operations by leveraging technology. So I think I can stop there first in terms of the intro. I don't know if there will be any additional questions. If not, I can just dive into what it is that I'm supposed to be speaking about today.
All right, sir. We'll be having you later in a bit for that, sir. Thank you so much. Okay,
right.
our topic for today, Mr. George. I can see Mr. George joined us. We would like to have Mr. George intro into the topic for today, raising capital and effective business negotiation. Mr. George, sir, you're welcome to today's class. Mr. George, are you with us?
Yeah, let's see. I'm on the move. How you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, so I've been in and out. I was there for a while. Yeah, so sorry about that. Did you attention me on anything? Sorry, I just got back in here.
No, sir. We're just calling you on for the first time now, sir, to have your introduction into the topic for today.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Dennis. The earliest mentor did a very. I listened to a good part of his presentation before my network started to become a bit unstable. He did a very, very sound justice to the topic. So probably because of our time, probably just add a tiny little bit of perspective to some of the things he has already mentioned from his presentation. On the side on raising capital, I know he talked about all the different forms of capital that one can raise, forms of capital where one can raise from family and friends, from your personal savings to your family and friends, and of course, fools, down to angels, down to VCs and venture capitalists, down to using loans, what we call debt capital, and then of course down to grants, right? Now, the only thing I would just add to that bit of the conversation is that business that you want to do, there are two things that you should also add to that list. One is what we call strategic partnerships. Now, strategic partnerships can help you cover some gaps that the funding you don't have. So rather than, for example, if I don't have a budget of, say, X amount of money to do my marketing, for example, if I don't have X amount of money to send messages or marketing messages to my target audience, but I found out that, okay, for what I'm selling, I'm trying to target young, aspiring lawyers in the intellectual property profession. And I think to myself, what platforms or what platforms aggregates these guys? Where can I go and find, where these guys are gathered? And I think to myself, I said, okay, there's a platform called JIIPCC, where young aspiring lawyers in the intellectual property space or that have interest in intellectual property and tech kind of always come together through a program. Can I have a strategic partnership with JIIPCC, to say, okay, I have this service that I can offer to you. In exchange, I want to be able to, send my messages to your lawyers. or send my messages to your mentees so that they can be able to see that my solution is solving a very important problem that I believe that they have and they need a solution for. So rather than have spent that money to find a way to advertise or market to them directly, by strategically partnering with the guys that already have these guys, the guys that already aggregate these guys, you can also create a sort of intangible finance structure for yourself, whereby you're saving capital but still being able to get value towards your capital you're trying to raise would have been deployed to. If I want to talk to vast amount of people, how do I have strategic partnership with the guys that already have these guys in their books already, so that I don't have to spend money going after them. So these are how you can use, depending on the the kind of what you're doing, you can use strategic partnership to make up for funding. Another critical part or aspect for which could really help in funding are part of the possible sources of finance that the earlier mentor also mentioned. Is also what is typically referred to as business credit. So business credit is where you are able to use some sort of goodwill to be able to get yourself access to the goods and services or some of the inputs that you need to be able to carry out what you need to carry out without having to pay at that particular point in time. Let me give a quick example with a brick and mortar business, and then I'll come use a fintech example. So if, for example, you are selling, let's say you're selling Coca-Cola, right? You are a depot, right? A distributor for Coca-Cola. Now, rather than I don't have money to buy, let's say, for example, 1,000 crates or 1,000 packs of Coca-Cola to stock in my shop. I only have money for 100, but I don't think that I could really get, as much impact to meet my demand and turnover, within a very reasonable time if I only have 100 in my store. So I go to Coca-Cola, I'm able to convince them that because of this, and this, you can be able to trust me enough to give me these goods in advance, to give me this 1,000 crates in advance as a business credit, and I pay for 100. And then if I sell this other one off, I would also bring back your monies and then carry another set of goods. And you can keep doing it like that. And every time you're coming back to take more goods, you're increasing your volume. And before you know it, you're running a distribution store that is dealing with, say, 100,000 packs of Coca-Cola. Meanwhile, the actual capital that you're using to trade that thing is probably, less than the worth of 10,000 packs. While you use business credit to, offset, that need for capital outlay. It's the same way that you can also do if you're fintech, and let's say one of the things or one of the services that you need is you need to be able to pay in advance, right, to get access to, say, a form of license, or you get access to a form of monthly fee or access fee for a service, right? But because you don't have the initial outlay for that service, you can be able to, show to probably the guy that is providing that service, say, look, I don't have the initial implementation fees. Maybe before somebody has access to the service, the person has to pay $1,000 upfront, or the person has to pay $500 upfront before they even give you access, to the service, and then you can now start using it to serve your customers. Say, look, I'm a startup. I don't have access to $10,000 upfront. I don't have access to $5,000 upfront. But this is why you need me to take this service from you. I am strategically positioned to get across to the customer base that can quickly demand or make us demand for this service. And I can actually, in no time, give you more numbers than the guys that are even already paying, that even already being able to pay, say, $10,000 to access your service. Because while they can pay you $10,000 to access the service, they might not be strategically positioned as I am to get to the last mile customer. So they might not give you the volume in scale or over time. So they can pay 10,000 now, but in a month, maybe they are doing only 100 or 200 per month. But where I am, I'm uniquely positioned to deliver up to, say, 1,000, 5,000 customers per month using this service. But I don't have $10,000 upfront. So permit me to be able to take this service on the pay-as-you-go basis, because I'm able to attract the guys that will take it, right? So you can be able to, make up for your lack of funding if you're creative about what exactly you need the money for. A lot of times, startups focus too much on the money itself rather than what they want to apply that money to. So what exactly do you need this money for? So by the time you are able to detail, if I get $100,000 today, what am I using this $100,000 for? Now, when I'm able to detail what I'm using the $100,000 for, it becomes easier to say, okay, which part of this can I actually still find another way to meet this need without necessarily throwing money at it? And those are now where things like business credit or strategic partnerships can help you, alongside some of all these other sources of finance that the initial mentor has already touched, which I'm not going to need to repeat. And then quickly on the part on the business negotiation, also very spot on comments that were made by the previous mentor on negotiation. But just to add a very quick perspective to say, negotiation is always very critical, and part of your ability to negotiate is understanding your strengths and being able to kind of decipher both the strengths and the interests of your partner or your negotiating partner. Because at the end of the day, negotiation is not always about I win. Negotiation it should be where you're going towards we win. And we winning, you need to understand, what does the win mean to me? And what does the win mean to my negotiating party? I can be able to put together some terms of the deal, and it's a win for me, but it's looking like a win for my party. I think it's a win for him, but he's not taking it, he's not buying it, and it's because I still don't understand what are the things that are most important to him in this conversation. And that is one of the tricks around negotiating, whereby the quick thinking on the feet comes. Being able to understand what is important to this guy and what is important to me. And how do I place the things that are important to me in the sequence of the negotiation? When you start a negotiation, you definitely don't start to play your hand, or you definitely don't start to play the things that are most important to you, right? You play the things that are least important to you, but put them in such a way that, look, when you're going into that negotiation, you already know what you want to leave, the least you can leave the table with. If we're negotiating, for example, that, look, I want to be able to get access to the Jiipcc mentees, because I want to be able to pass my information to them. I want to be able to, I think I have a product that can get to them. Now, for me, my most important thing is that, look, if I go and do this in outside, it probably will cost me, say, 100,000 naira to be able to do specific messages to these guys, or through the channels that I will go through to get their, email address, or whatever it is, get a message to them. Let's assume it will cost me 100,000 naira. And I come to Jiipcc and I say, hey, Jiipcc, I have a proposition for you. Let me probably speak in one of your sessions, rather than paying me a mentorship fee. Allow me to just also tell your guys what I can do for them, right? And typically I charge 1 million naira, but because of Jiipcc, because of the fact that I will be able to also tell them what I have for them, I'm going to do it at, say, 100,000 naira. And Jiipcc say, hey, hold a minute. No, if you're going to allow you come here and speak to our guys, you're going to actually pay us 100,000 to do it. And in my mind, I know that this is the 100,000 it cost me from doing it outside the Jiipcc platform. So I can decide to play, highlighting the fact that, well, the fact is that my problem is not getting across to you guys. My problem is the fact that, look, I value my time a lot. I value the content I'm going to give to you. And I put a lot of the focus around my being able to speak for a cost, being paid for my speaking. Now, I put a lot of attention and discussion around the fact that I can't speak for free. Not to talk of even paying, for that speaking position to the tune of 100,000, right? But in my mind, I know I could easily speak for free. But I'm putting a lot of effort and attention to what is not the most important part of the deal, of the conversation for me. So that at the time I finally give up to say, okay, you know what? Just because of this and this and this, I'm going to speak for free, right? I'm going to speak for free. I am going to support what you guys are doing with 20,000 naira, but I'm not going to charge you guys for my normal fee. In fact, I'm going to speak for free and to do it. So I played in such a way whereby it looks as if I'm giving up something huge. It looks as if I'm giving up the most important thing for me. And at the back of my mind somewhere, I know that is the thing I know I could easily have given up. But I've held it for so long. I have painted the picture like it was the most important thing for me, even more than the real thing I'm looking for, which is actually to speak, right? So that I can pass my message to the mentees. So that on the Jiipcc side, because the guy negotiating also needs to go and report a win to say, we've finally been able to get this guy. We're finally able to get this guy to speak for free, something that would typically have cost us 500K. And just on top of it, we are also even getting cash of 20K from him, right? They get money, not the 100,000 that they wanted, but they have some cash, whether it's 20K or 50K, and now getting me to speak without having to pay me. And it looks like a big thing, right? So the guy, he's getting the win of getting some cash in, still getting me to speak without having to pay. And to me, I'm getting the win of being able to speak and pass my message at a least cost than it would have cost me to do it outside. And this is just a hypothetical example, just to say that it's all about the fact that when you're going into a negotiation, look at the things that you know very well that you must give up, because negotiation, you can never start from a particular position and remain there till the end of the position. You must shift grounds, but don't give a sense of what you're shifting ground to is something that is easy for you to part with. You have to create a picture that, look, that shifting ground is like a last ditch move. You have to create the fact that what you're giving up is something that will have made you almost walk out of the deal. So that by the time you give it up, by the time you shift that ground, it's caused like a very big win, on the side of your other guy that is negotiating with you, right? So it's just to say that when you're negotiating, inclusive of all that the previous mentor has talked about, be conscious to the win-win mindset, and be conscious of the fact that you need to be very, very clear around what is important to you and what is less important to you, and the sequence on which you give them up, so that you are able to arrive at your preferred state, which is getting some of the things that are important to you on the terms that are favorable to you, while allowing your other guy to also feel the sense that they've gotten some of the things that are also important to you out, so that they can also get some of the things that are important to them. I think just to throw this, like I said, this little perspective in the knowledge, the very rich knowledge that the previous mentor have shared. And of course, we will continue this conversation afterwards with the presentation so that we don't kill time. All right, thank you.
Okay, good evening. Thank you so much, Mr. George. We really appreciate that. We're always thrilled when we have our mentors who give us a whole lot of insights. I'm really sorry I'm on transit and there's a little noise in the background, a whole lot of noise in the background. Thank you so much to our mentors. Once more, happy birthday to Mr. Onyekere. Wishing you long life and prosperity and everything good. Thank you to Mr. Emotu for a nice opening. And of course, Mr. George, thank you. So up next, moving on to our mentees for the presentation. Please, is our presenter ready to wow us? For want of time, we'll have to cut down on the presentation from our mentee. So mentee will be to beg you. When we say round off, kindly round off. Are you ready, please, for your presentation? Is our presenter ready, please? Hello, is our presenter ready, please? Or is there a backup presenter? What course is presenting today, please? Okay, so while we're waiting for our presenter for today, we'll quickly go into our picture time before it gets dark. Can we have our picture time quickly? Everyone would like to implore you to please turn on your cameras and let's quickly take a picture for today. Please let's kindly turn our cameras, please, for a picture time. Thank you. So while we're taking our pictures, please, FinTech group, we're aware that you're meant to handle presentation for today. So please, I was taking our pictures. FinTech group, get ready for your presentation. If the presenter is now around, the backup presenter, please get ready. Or a member of the group, please get ready for that presentation. Thank you. I can see our amazing faces. Mr. George is in the sky today again. Amazing is his face.
Yes, sir. Yeah, thanks, man. I moved to her now. I've just seen that you're here now. This is our small industry. Well done, everybody.
Okay, so I think we've gotten our picture right. Okay, so can we move straight on to the presentation? FinTech group, over to you, please. Or should we have a negotiation right now?
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Hello, good evening. Carry on, please.
Okay, I'm not the presenter for this week. I'm actually the group leader. My name is Ope Sodium. So I just spoke with my presenter and she was like, she's having problem with her network. She's having some network issues and she tried logging in, but she's always being logged out. And the backup presenter is not also around, so we're trying to see what we can do. I'm trying to reach out to the backup presenter. So please, can you guys give me like 3 to 5 minutes?
Wow, 3 to 5 minutes is a whole lot of time. Okay, see what you just do. Can you just present for the group? You mustn't go thoroughly through your slide. I'm aware that one of our mentors has worked with the slide earlier. So I think you could just give us an insight on what's your take on the topic for today based on your research you've done as a group. Let's get to know. Now, slide aside, let's get to know how well you've researched about raising capital and what that particular field entails. Can we do that?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so while she's working on that, I want to come back to Mr. Emotu. You didn't speak so much last time. So, sir, do you have more insights you want to share with the class, please?
Yeah, thank you for coming back to me. I don't have a lot of insights. I know that the conversation today is primarily around fundraising, especially with focus on fintechs. But I think one of the things I can probably lend my 2 cents to is around fundraising strategy, specifically. The first mentor actually did a very good job. He went through and touched on a lot of the different points that essentially govern the way in which companies who are looking to raise money should go about it. And I think I like that the presentation also covered not just what you need to do for the purposes of fundraising, but also what you need to do for the purposes of running your business. And so I won't be going too deeply into any of the other stuff. I think I just want to contribute specifically at the point of the fundraising strategy. I'm doing this because it's an experience that I've had, and I think it will be very helpful to a lot of the mentees here, especially for those who are technology inclined and are trying to actually raise or build a business or a product that eventually will need money from external investors. So what I would just do is spend maybe 5 or 10 minutes just talking about this a little bit. I don't know if I have the ability to share my screen, but let me try to do this pretty quickly so that we would just have something as a point of reference that we can work with. So let me just try to share. Let me try to share this very quickly. And then we can go from there. Please let me know if you can still see my screen.
Yes, please. Fundraising strategy. You can see it.
Okay. All right. So again, for everyone here, my name is Emotu. I'm co-founder and CEO of Sendbox. Sendbox is an e-commerce fulfillment company. We have provided our services to as many as 15,000 merchants across Nigeria. We facilitate the e-commerce fulfillment section of many of these small businesses, and we focus on this particular category because we believe that there's a lot of value that can be created for small merchants, especially when it comes to giving them the ability to actually increase the amount of revenue or the amount of business that they have, the opportunity to do so. My background has already been shared. I'm a technologist by origin, primarily, and I spent a lot of time in startup land. Let me put it that way. And so one of the things that would often come up, for as long as anyone here is interested in building, running, or scaling a business, is around fundraising. Now, fundraising is important because money is essentially the lifeblood of any business. Now, the challenges with actually succeeding in fundraising oftentimes comes down to the approach that is taken to when you go into it. What I found from experience and also from engagements with other co-founders and other people in the industry in general is that a lot of fundraising isn't haphazard. A lot of it is actually very well coordinated and very well, planned out and directed. Oftentimes planned out and directed and implemented by the owners of the business, the co-founders, or the executives of the business. And so what I'm just going to try to do is distill from my own experience some of the key areas that you need to focus on when you are executing a fundraising strategy. So first of all, I'm making a number of assumptions here. The assumptions I'm making are that you already have a business or a product that you think delivers value, and you have a fair or fairly clear idea as to what value you're trying to deliver and who the target audience is and how you intend on ultimately, capturing value from the value that you're or from this product or service that you're building. And so I won't go too deeply into those things. I will just try to talk in the next 5 minutes around what you need to do in terms of or the steps that you need to plan for and execute in terms of your fundraising strategy. And so the simplest thing I would say here is that you need to think about fundraising like a funnel. I'm using a funnel because a funnel, if you know the image of a funnel, it's like a cone, an inverted cone, right? You have certain, the top is wide, oftentimes wider than the bottom. And the top is wider because it allows you to catch more of the stuff that you're trying to pour into the funnel. But the funnel itself gives you the ability to focus or direct whatever you are trapping into your desired destination or into the desired outcome. And so the approach or the idea is that when you are going into fundraising, you should pretty much, one, be prepared. And we'll talk a lot about the preparation. And two, think about it, like I said, like this funnel, right? Meaning that you would probably want to catch a lot of stuff first and then filter this information, rinse and repeat, and then go ahead. So I've tried to just divide this into 4 major sections. I think the first 2 are the things that you do before you actually start pitching investors. The other 2 are the things that you would do during and after your pitch. The first thing is you need to prepare all your materials. You need to go in prepared. So your materials would include things like your pitch deck, your financial model, any additional information for due diligence for your company. Depending on the stage of your business, this information would have, it can be fairly light or it can be extensive. I'm saying that because if it's a new idea or a very early stage business or just a concept, you may not have a lot of additional information. So, and I don't know what stage most of the businesses in this program are, but I'm assuming that, for many of us here, we are either just at the ideation stage or at the very early stage, right? And so you want to prepare certain information for you to go into the pitch because it's not sometimes, the way we find it in books or in movies, a haphazard thing where you just stumble on a potential investor and then they give you money and you're successful. Those things happen, but the reality of it is that they are rare. A lot of fundraising and a lot of the effort or the activity that goes into it is thought out and planned out and executed. And so the process or the approach that you take with it is that first, there's the preparation stage, which is things like your pitch deck, things like your financial model, things like any additional information about your company that is necessary enough for you to communicate what you're doing, how you're doing it, and what your overall intentions are. And so one thing I can highlight is that as much as possible, this information needs to be clear. It needs to be clear and, if possible, simple enough that you are able to at least pass your message along. I'm saying so because the very, or will I say, the common mistake that is often made by early stage founders or people who are just starting out is that they want to sound very sophisticated, very robust, very, very technocratic or technological, right? When they are communicating with potential investors. And the the, let's say, the knock-on or the negative effect is that you're not actually communicating. What you want to do and what you want to prioritize is the ability to pass your message along. You need to do that because oftentimes the people who you are pitching or who you are trying to invest, or rather who you are trying to get to invest in you, do not actually have an understanding of the problem you are trying to solve. And so they are not in your shoes, essentially. And so what you need to be able to try to do is, with your material that you're preparing, you need to essentially bring them to your eye level, because your assumption is that there is a problem that you need to solve, and you want people to go along with you for the ride in solving that problem. And so if they don't understand what you're saying, they don't even buy into the idea. If they don't understand you, they don't buy into the idea, right? And so that's the first problem that you need to surmount. Doing so is you preparing your material, things like your pitch deck, your model, essentially things that can help you explain to the people that you are trying to communicate with what it is that you're doing, how you plan on achieving it, and what the potential return or the value that can be created inside of it is, right? And so that's the first step. The second step is the funnel part of it, which is you need to build this pipeline. You need to build a potential and a wide enough network of people, in this case, investors, right, that you want to share your idea or your business or your company or whatever you're creating with, in the hopes that you will find a subsection of them that will invest in your business. And so, again, going back to thinking about it like a funnel, I don't know how many of us here have done anything in sales, but usually what you would do is you would perhaps spread your net, find maybe about 100 or 50 people, and I'm just using random numbers now, and pitch to as many of them, knowing fully well that not all of them will say yes. So you have a goal, you have a target, you understand how much money you are trying to raise. You now want to find people to fill your quota. And so what you would do is you would expand your funnel. You would try to get investors into the funnel. You would try to set up a kind of schedule that allows you to talk to as many people as you need to talk to. Now, it is a thing that I think the way to go around it is to have a very controlled time frame or time window, and a very controlled system that allows you to keep track of who is saying what and what position you are with any particular investor, which is the reason why I have written down here, build an investor tracker. And an investor tracker can basically be built out on a spreadsheet. It's pretty much you saying, okay, I have 200 investors to talk to. I'm going to reach out to them. I'm going to schedule meetings with them. I'm going to pitch my idea to them. I'm going to get their feedback. I'm going to rank them according to how likely they are to invest. And I'm going to use that ranking to filter out the people that I'm not making any headway with and continue, right? And so the fundraising tracker is what helps you do that. So in that kind of situation, you now have to actually figure out how to get investors onto your tracker. Now, this is where things like startup accelerators, mentorship programs, grants, funds, different types of things, right, that can give you access to investors. This is where they come in. You go through these programs, or you reach out to these different organizations and build this your funnel. I mean, give or take, some of them will have different rules or guidelines that they expect you to follow. But going through most of these things is what will help you build a list, right? And so this list is where you start. Now, once you have this, the next thing you need to do is figure out how to schedule, your pitch sessions with these potential investors, and how you would keep your calendar essentially with these investors. You set that up, you start to engage. In these sessions, you very likely would pitch based on all of the material that you have prepared. The leading material oftentimes being your pitch deck that should be simple, easy enough to understand, not cluttered, not a time-consuming document. It just allows you to communicate your business in clear and interesting terms. Now, the first mentor gave a list, guidelines as to what needs to go into your pitch deck. So that's something that I think you should also take note of when building or developing this pitch deck. During these investor sessions, you will get asked a bunch of questions. This is where your preparation comes in. So, you very likely will be able to answer a lot of those questions if you prepare. If you don't, for the questions you're not able to answer, take note of them, figure it out, may have an answer for the next set of sessions that you end up with, right? It's a process that you need to invest very heavily in keeping track of your feedback. Now, the feedback might be for your product, the feedback might be for some of the questions you were asked, but these are things that you need to keep track of and use to improve your communication or your correspondence with these potential investors as you are going along. And so after that, depending on how things go and where you are in terms of the fundraising, this is where the next phase of following up with the investors, closing out on the funding that the investors are willing to give. This is the next stage of the process. It's important to remember that you've actually not fundraised until the investor has sent you the money, right? And so your terms or the investor's terms, alongside with the documentation or anything else that is required to close the fundraising, needs to also be ready, available, and executed. Now, this is where the advice of actually having a lawyer comes into play, right? You shouldn't go into these types of agreements without some educated or intellectual oversight. It is critical, it is important, because documents and agreements are binding, especially when companies and money is concerned. And so this phase of it is on the assumption that you have identified or found a number of different investors that fit your portfolio or fit your criteria, are willing to invest in your business, and are now ready for you, right? And so you need to follow through or follow up with them. The process of closing the funding would oftentimes entail having documents prepared, signing off on these documents, presenting or additional information when necessary, executing on particular requests, provided they are not irrational and detrimental to your business. And then just essentially getting yourself ready to receive the money. Once the funding is done, additional documentation will be created or prepared or distributed depending on the nature of the fundraising round. But this is essentially how it goes. And so I'm going to stop here now, but before I do that, I just want to highlight the critical things about the fundraising, which are the first two, which is you need to prepare. You shouldn't go in blind. So prepare your pitch deck, financial model, due diligence information, create the funnel, which is have a plan, a strategy for how you are going to acquire and approach investors and follow through with that and keep track of it, right? And then go into the sessions with your preparation, execute on your sessions, get the feedback, discuss, close your deals, and then that's follow up with investors and receive the funding. And so I think I'm going to stop here. I imagine that there will be, one or two questions with regards to this. So let me just stop here now and hand it back to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Lots of insights for today. Thank you so much, sir, for that but wonderful one. We've really learned a whole lot. I think mentees would agree with me if we say we would love to get a hold of that slide. That was really, really nicely done. Thank you. And also, as Elia said, for the want of time, we'd have to cut down on the presentation by our mentees for today. So we're quickly going into the question and answers. So I'll read the questions and I'll employ on our mentors. Any question you think you want to jump on, please, you're free to the question. The first question reads, what are the key strategies and best practices for fintech startups to attract venture capital or other forms of funding in today's competitive market? Please, any mentor is allowed to jump on the question so we can quickly get through them. Thank you. Hello, Mr. George.
Can you take that again? Can you take that again?
It's okay. Please carry on, please.
We can hear you now. Please go again. Please come again.
Please, who's carrying on, please? I thought all of our mentors was about speaking.
Yes,
He
sir.
said question.
Okay, I should repeat the question.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I didn't hear that. Okay, what and best practices for fintech startups to attract venture capital or other forms of funding in today's competitive market? Please, did you get that?
Yeah, I think we heard you. Emoto, you want to go with that? You want to still take that, and then probably I'll take the number 2 here.
Okay, let me just you lend my thoughts on this. I think what are the key strategies and best practices for fintech? So I think the most important thing really is actually having a product that customers want. And this is what I mean. You want to create something that or are sure that users have, or rather that users need, right? The reason I think that that's the primary strategy is that people will fund your business if they think it has potential. They will fund your business if they think that there is a possibility of it capturing a sizable chunk of the market. There is a possibility of it becoming a really valuable service in the space. And there is a possibility of it leading to really, really large returns. And so the way I think that you should think about it from a strategy perspective is, what is the problem you're trying to solve? How many people have this problem? How is your solution solving this problem, right? And I'm saying so because it's very easy to say, oh, my product is doing this, and doing it, mine looks better than the other person's own, so investors should give me money. That's not how they think about it. They think about it from the perspective of, look, who is using what you are building? Are they deriving value from it? Because if they're deriving value from it, then it means that more people potentially will need your solution, which means that your solution will continue to grow and expand. And so to try to acquire funding in a competitive market, that's the approach or the angle I think that you should lean towards. Don't just be, oh, that person is doing it, me too, I'm doing it too. I mean, it's not a bad idea, to be honest, but I think you improve your odds if you actually focus more on delivering value to the customers.
Hello. Hello, Mr. Moss, are you done, sir?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. That's why I kept
Okay. I thought it was probably network.
Oh, no. Sorry, I forgot that my camera is on.
Okay, that's perfect.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you for that answer, please. I see a hand from a mentee before we go to the next question. I see a hand from a mentee. I don't know, Miss Green. Do you have a question, please? Hello, Miss Green. I see Osita as well. Okay, so hand is down. Miss Green, do you have a question? Okay, in the absence of that, we'll go straight on to the second question. So I think, Mr. George, this is for you, please. The complexities of regulatory compliance, which negotiating partners or investments with traditional financial institutions or other fintech players. That's a whole lot of English in that question. Oh, Mr. George, over to you, I trust.
Definitely a whole lot of words, man. Okay. Yeah, so there's no one way to it, really. And a lot of these things, there are a lot of variables, that one have to factor. You get when hard trying to approach some of these things, and some of these variables are things that differ according to the stage of a business, according to the industry the person is, according to what the person is, problem the person is solving, and all that. But generally, when it comes to the part of navigating regulatory compliance, the truth is when you're starting as a fintech company, you're likely to already be not to be on the regulatory compliance end of things. You're likely not to have the necessary licenses you need to do what you're doing. Most of the time, like they say, innovation, precedes regulation, and getting regulatory compliance or being up to speed with regulatory compliance is expensive, and is the kind of capital that you don't have when you're starting your business. So that leaves you to say, how do you navigate it, right? There are several ways you can do that. One, of course, is using extended licensing. Extended licensing, whereby you are leveraging the guys that are already licensed to provide some of the services that you're providing. You're using them to power your services and leveraging the coverage of their license to do what you're doing, pending when you get yours. So you want to do a form of a payment service, and of course, because you don't have the necessary payment license, you go into a payment company that is regulated already and have the license to say, please, I want you to, I want to consume, your payment service, to, use it to solve problems for my customers, or use it to resell, sort of, quote unquote. whereby I'm not the final consumer of this your service. I'm actually using it to serve other guys. But I'm not going to be the one to handle. My work is basically, I'm like a transport system. So I get the data from this guy. I'm able to call you to give him a frame where he can put in this data, or I move this data to you. You process it, you handle the cash if it's something that a money has to be collected. The money is collected by you. You're the one holding the funds. You're the one doing everything, and I'm of course using that your infrastructure to solve that problem. So I'm not building out the infrastructure because I don't have the necessary regulatory coverage to do so. So you can, go under the wings, which is what most people do. Go under the wings of the existing guys, take some of those services from them, and then start doing what you're doing. And of course, as you're running along the line, you're growing, then you start to gradually acquire the licenses that you need to run. There are some particular type of services you want to do. It's tricky not to have at least one form of license or the other. And for those particular kind of services, these are not the places where you have to go find a way to be under the coverage of the regulator. A lot of times, one of the tricks people don't understand is when you're already talking to a regulator, even if you don't have a license and you're carrying out the service, those conversations don't happen instantly. Those conversations happen over a period of time, even if you already, especially like now, some of these guys have regulatory incubation. So if you're doing something, for example, you're doing a wealth management app, and you're talking to SEC, Security Exchange Commission, around the service you're providing. Because you've already put yourself under the radar of that regulatory agency. While you're carrying out that service, there's some bit of coverage that you have, because at that point in time you're not hidden, right? And then they're able to help you, guide you on how you can, have the necessary go ahead. At that point in time, it might not be a license. They will now tell you, okay, go and get one of the guys with our licensing, and we will give you an approval. So they are not going to give you a license, but you get like an approval to carry out that service because you're partnering with a regulated guy. So you're partnering with a broker, somebody that has a brokerage license, because you're doing some form of stock. You're selling stock. People are buying stocks on your app, right? Because you don't have a stock a license as a brokerage. You're going to a brokerage to partner with them to say, hey, the people are going to be buying this stock under you, but I'm going to be the one serving them on my app. And then you are writing to SEC to say, I'm partnering with this brokerage to do this service. And they're giving you a no objection letter. So they're not giving you a license, but they're giving you a no objection letter to carry on with your service, because you're now working with an already licensed or regulated agency or broker. So it depends on the kind of service that you want to do. Then you have to be smart about it. But you can never wait until you get all the regulatory compliance things that you need to do before you start. You probably will never get started. It's just for you as a fintech to be smart enough to say, okay, what kind of services am I trying to do? Are there things I can just start doing off the top of my head and just get running? Are there things where I need the partnership of the existing guys, so I go and get them, pending when I'm big enough to get a license? Now, if you want to get investment from the traditional financial institution of some sort, or partnership with the traditional financial institution, it also depends on the type of service you're providing. That is even the more difficult one, because these traditional financial institutions are very, very regulated. So they're very careful about the people they partner with. Most of the times, you might not want to start with the commercial banks if you're just starting out. You might want to say, okay, let me look for the microfinance banks. The guys that can be more easily approached. You can easily get in a conversation with them to do a lot of the things that you probably want to do anyway. But you might not be able to go to a commercial bank until you start playing at the level of, you're now off the ground. Maybe at the level of Sandbox, a motors company where okay, you are now known, you're not a hidden name. So when you send in a proposal, nobody's asking who are these guys, right? So when you not get to the point where you are now very well in the market, then at that point is where you want to start talking to traditional financial institutions. But if you've not gotten to that point where you're already well in the market, it is best to look for other fintechs that are in the financial space that have some form of license that you can hide under them to take services and then use their services or their infrastructure to serve your market. They are more open to listen to you because they've passed through your journey. The traditional financial institution will not do that until you get to the point where there's a bit of trust around your brand because you're now known. You're now known in the market space. So when a Sandbox goes to a financial institution to have a conversation, they will listen because they know Sandbox, right? If you come into the logistics space tomorrow where you are not known and then you want to quickly jump to, have a partnership with the financial institution to say, I want to help you start delivering your cards, your debit card of your customers. I want to start delivering those debit cards of your customers. They don't know you. That conversation is not even going to get started, right? Because it's not even going to get to the point where they're asking you for your license. You won't even get started, because there is brand recognition that you don't have, which they can't afford, to do. So it's just to be very smart around knowing where you are in your journey of your startup and knowing how best, to approach, being regulatory compliance or whatever it is you need, or any partnership you need to, progress your startup. So there's no hard rule to it. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Josh, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, our time is fast spent today, but before we round off for today, we want to take a question came in before. I'm going to quickly read the question. I know I've sent it on the group already. Okay, the question reads, please. How can IP rights be used as a means to fund startups? How can IP rights be used as a means to fund startups? So, Judge, I know I saw you in the last IP sessions. Exactly. So,
well, in this part of the country, there's the environment here is very important, right? In this part of the country, IP rights to fund startup, except you've gotten to the point where you have a patent or you have, because IP rights is really tricky, really, especially when it comes to tech, to fund your startup. Those IP rights have to be very solid, right? Very, very solid. There's some things that you have quote and unquote IP that are like your IP ports. Yeah, they're not things that cannot be easily replicated. By some smart guys if they have a little bit of understanding around what you're trying to do. So except those your IP right, I've not gotten to the point where there's a bit of safeguard on it. There's a stamp on it that this is only owned by you. That is when it becomes a thing of value that it can fund you because of. We have a patent to do something, and that problem that you're solving with your patent is a very important one. Then it's easier to want to fund you. But to be very honest with you, in the tech world, especially when it comes to software as a service, guys are more interested in running to the market, getting to the market as quick as possible, getting solution out there quickly, getting customers using the product as quick as possible, than they are in trying to patent whatever it is they are doing, right? I don't know, maybe Emotsu can, and I don't know if the other mentor is still here too, can also chip in here, but I know that before they start worrying about the IP or the patent, quote unquote, of whatever they have put together, just to make sure that, okay, nobody gets access to my source code, right? But to trade that source code is except you're selling the company. Nobody's going to fund you just because you have lovely source codes, right? The codes are not the thing. It's the problem is solving for people that is the value of the company, not because you wrote some particular codes, right? So those codes only become valuable when they are increasingly solving a problem, not because you just have them, for in its own sake. You get so it's only at that point that it can become a thing, a valuable thing for funding when it's actually transformed from being just IP to actually solving problems that people are coming back to you for over and over again, not just because you have the IP. I'm sure Emoto and Co worry less about that. They are more important. They are more interested in getting to the market fast and getting the product to the customer to solve the problem.
So,
Yeah.
okay, sir. So let's look at a scenario where someone has a registered trademark, and we live in a world where the social media is going. It's like the money point at this point. If you control the social media, you have a whole lot going for you. So we have someone who has a trademark that is having so much buzz on social media at the moment, but he's also a startup and can have more reach, and it's almost like an influencer. So imagine this person writes to an organization as a startup to get funds. Don't you think they might want to fund the person?
You're cutting in and out. I don't know if it's me or.
Hello?
We're having some difficulty hearing you, actually.
Okay, can you hear me now better, please?
Yeah, it's better now.
Okay, sorry, please. Sorry, the network is crazy. So I was saying that when someone has a registered trademark, and that particular trademark is doing a whole lot of good business on social media, and the person is a startup, an investor who who would probably benefit a whole lot from the buzz that comes from that particular trademark. For example, let me say when Mr. Funny had the trademark of something huge. So let's say something huge was probably trademarked, and in the entertainment space, it's something that everybody was on, and they knew that whoever controlled the slogan, something huge, could make some good money. And then he writes to, let's say, for example, to a real estate company that, see, if I become a brand ambassador for you, or as a startup person, you put into my business and I use something huge to do something that could work out for both of us, it could work. Don't you think they might want to invest because of the fact that he has that IP and it's been trademarked, something huge?
George, do you want to say anything, or should I start?
No, you can go ahead. I'll probably just add a one liner when you're done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it won't be too long what I have to say, because first of all, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't really know a lot about the guardrails of trademarks and intellectual property. But as a person who runs a business, I think that the critical thing that people who may be interested in investing want to see is actually your execution. So using your example, if this person has a lot of presence or media awareness on the internet, say on Instagram, for instance, because of what he's doing, I think that his trademark or whatever trademark he holds is only as valuable as his own execution or his own continued development of that solution. So, and I'm drawing this parallel because unlike what typically would happen in the music or in the media industry, and I'm talking about like music or video now, is that the creatives or the creators who make these things that are mostly protected by IP, like music, like lines of tracks or melodies or artwork or stuff like that, are only able to derive value from it when people utilize it and without permission. Case in point, someone like P. Diddy stealing a line from let's say the Beatles now and uses it without actually opting in to pay royalties. But these are things that happen in more developed or more advanced countries. In Nigeria, I don't know that you would actually be able to take anybody to court and win that case, right? In that kind of situation. And so because of that, it is oftentimes not a competitive advantage when it comes to raising money. Things like intellectual property rights or patents, I think they are more valuable in the field of maybe pharmaceuticals or medicine than they are in the field of, will I say, technology or software. The reason being that every company, for instance, that you incorporate, one of the first things that you will do if you're a technology company is you assign all the intellectual property rights to the company, right? Which means that all of the employees, staff, and people that work within the company will agree that any code that is developed on behalf of the company belongs to the company. And so it doesn't mean that if they leave that company and go to another company and have exactly the same problem statement and then build or implement on that, it will not, it will be in violation of the IP that they had already signed off on the other place. It just means that in the event that this piece of software, exactly this piece of software with exactly these lines of code are found outside of the organization, then it is safe to say that it should belong to the organization. And so for a lot of investors, it doesn't carry a lot of weight. It doesn't also have a lot of, and because it doesn't carry a lot of weight, it is also something that you can't just say, oh, I have it. And so based on this, invest in me. What will attract them is what you do with it. So your execution of, and execution now is, okay, I've written this code, I'm building this company, the company now has customers, this is the value that's created. That's what they will look at. Not just that I wrote this software, so I have the IP. Because somebody across the world, somewhere else, can think of the same solution and write a piece of software that delivers the same value, but is completely different from what you have done, right? And he has rendered yours useless. So you need to think about it from that perspective, right? I think that there are some, business categories or business sectors where IP rights are actually a competitive advantage. But I don't know that in technology and in finance and in what it is that we're trying to do, it has a lot of weight. So I think for me, that's really my response to this.
Yeah, very spot on, Emoto, very spot on. I mean, that does it really. Even with the creative example, I mean, he gave something good or what he said. It's not the word that's making that brings that in, that gives value to that slogan, right? Is the various things that Mr. Funny is doing that is making that slogan have value. The day Mr. Funny or whoever it is stop doing those things they are doing, the slogan will have no value anymore. So the value is not from the slogan itself, it's from the execution, the activities that are driving people's interests in the slogan, not because you have a slogan that the slogan has any value. It's particular activities that are being, that is generating people's interests. That is why that slogan has value. So IP on its own has no value until it's, doing something. It's what it's doing or what it's solving that is actually giving it the value, not just because it is an IP on its own. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to our fabulous mentors. Mr. George, thank you. Mr. Emoti, thank you. And I know Mr. Onyekere is no longer on the call. I believe it's his birthday, so he must have gone to have some birthday after party or something. So thank you so much to our mentors for being with us throughout this session. It's been simply mind-blowing. I want to employ our mentees. You could always return to listen to this over YouTube. You want to hear more. For me, I want to go back to listen to so much about the funding strategies and negotiations. Those were spot on presentations, so we can go back to listen to them. Of course, we cannot end today with us saying thank you to our fabulous mentees. You've been so amazing throughout the session. Next week, everything is coming to an end. So come on, it's been you deserve the accolades. Thank you so much for being with us throughout this session today. God bless you so much. Mr. Dennis, thank you for being with us. Thank you for stepping in when network was giving so much problems. We say a big thank you. My name is Guslav Kamalini, and I was a co-host or co-moderator for today, thanks to network. It was really an amazing time. Thank you so much to us, and have a fabulous weekend. I think that'll be all for today's session. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.
Have a wonderful evening too. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, sir. Goodbye.
Thank you, sir. Goodbye.